So, what is the observation gap, and how can you begin to apply it to your own life to live a life of well-being and to not be pulled out by emotions that you don't want to engage with? So, the observation gap is an idea I've come up with through my own inner experience of learning to handle emotions and learn to step back from life situations to be able to observe them before engaging with them. From reaction to response, which is really like the goal of the whole spiritual process. When we're learning to observe life without reacting to it, we're really learning to observe it first and then move forward. So we respond instead of react. And that's what the goal is here. So how can we do that? So the observation gap, think about it like this. Here are you naturally. This is your natural state. And it might not feel like that to those of you watching this. But your natural state here, being peaceful, being present, being joyous, being blissful, being connected to the universal mind, giving you directions and guidance in your life. But then there's this version of you that is stressed out, that's anxious, that's going through some negative emotion. It can even be positive emotion, but the whole idea is that you're being pulled out of this state. And so there's this gap here that moves you from here to here. And it's this gap that we're learning to create. It's this gap that we're learning to observe as we stop getting pushed and pulled by our emotions so much. So once we're able to rest in this space and observe the thoughts, observe the emotions, and observe the actions. Once we're able to observe the thoughts, emotions, and actions that pull us out of here, which are really just impressions on our five senses. So we can really sum this up as this gap is the five senses. What do I mean by that? I mean that when you go out into the world, when you wake up in the morning, when you engage with another human, what you see, what you hear, what you taste, what you touch, what you smell, the five senses of this physical body, is what's dragging us out of this state and pulling us into this emotional state or any emotional state that comes. But that's the only thing that's happening. Say, for example, you get up and you check your email and you see an email from your boss, and all of a sudden you're just anxious and you have all these pent-up emotions, all these underlying emotions when it comes to your boss that makes you feel worried, that makes you feel powerless, that makes you feel just lower than or less than. All those things will come up when you see the message, when you read the message, when you hear the message. And so when we're engaging in the world through our five senses, we're picking up information and we're processing it through our emotions. And if we're not aware of what we're processing or how we're processing it or how we feel and why we feel that way, if we're not aware of that, then it's so easy to get stuck here and think that this is just natural. But it's not natural. And it's not the state any of us should live in. It's the state that we should observe, let go of, and remain here. Because this is our natural state, not this. Not emotions or any emotional state that arises. It's this peaceful, easeful witness. The person who's witnessing, who's observing this gap that is taking them from this to this. One way we can think of it is like when you see someone who's sad, when you look at them, you can say, oh, that's sad. And then you can walk away and do your own thing. Or you can say, oh, that's sad. And you can start bawling your eyes out for them and go comfort them and all these things. It's not that one way is better or worse or right or wrong, but being able to observe the sadness and then detach from it is a lot easier and a lot lighter of a life to live than observing it and getting wrapped up in it, and now you're attached to it. So, why am I saying that? Because it gives us an example of what it's like to observe the emotion, to observe the thoughts, the emotions, the actions, and the five senses and what they're taking in, so that we don't cross this gap and get lost over here thinking that this is all we know. But really, this is what we know. This is natural. This is who we are, at ease, at peace, at rest, joyous, That is who we are naturally. Even when we're faced with death, even when we're faced with illness, even when we're faced with physical world suffering, we can remain here. We really can. And something that can help is creating that observation gap, creating that gap within yourself of steadiness where you can observe life unfolding without running out after it and getting entangled in it. And over the series of videos in this observant heart path, or whatever I name it, through this series of videos, I'm going to help you learn to step into your heart quite literally and observe life from there, so that you can observe it from here in your heart and not get pulled out here into the terrifying landscape of emotions that just drowns us. So, if you're someone who's struggling with your anxiety, struggling with stress, struggling with negative emotions, over this course of videos, I'm going to show you how you can remain here and not get pulled out here across this observation gap, which is what I'm calling it. I'll give you some practices and techniques and some more intellectual exercises to help you unwrap that ball. I'll see you in the next video.